Alright y'all, welcome back to Common Arms channel. So today we're reacting to a different country's military, and this is actually the Republic of Korea, or most people would just know it as South Korea. So if you're not familiar with their history, obviously back in the 50s we had the Korean War, and the Korean Peninsula was split at the 38th parallel. So we had North Korea, which is very communist, and they have an interesting way of handling things, and then we have South Korea, which is more westernized than a lot of Asian countries. So with South Korea, after the Korean War, the U.S. military stayed in South Korea. So we really helped shape the ROK Army, or the Republic of Korean Army, and the ROK military in general to be a lot like the U.S. military. So I'm actually in South Korea right now, and I've worked with the ROK Army. I've worked with the ROK Marines briefly. The U.S. Marine Corps works with the ROK Marine Corps a lot. So we do a lot of training with them. So a lot of times Marines will go over and get exposed to how they actually do their training and whatnot. And you will see the similarities there. But yeah, the ROK military is very much similar to the U.S. military. So this video is about the ROK Navy's UDT, or SEAL. So they're like their special operations inside the Navy. So this video is about the ROK. And if you're not familiar with VBSS, it's your visit, board, search, and seizure. And a lot of people will get tasked to do this. It doesn't necessarily need to be special operations. It could just be normal sailors, could be Marines, recon Marines, what have you. VBSS is a very common phrase. It's not anything particularly high speed. It just means, visiting, boarding, searching, or seizing something on a vessel that you're not familiar with. So if a vessel comes too close, or you have to search a vessel or what have you, you have your VBSS team that would actually go and do all of that. So that's what we're going to see in this video. So we'll see how the ROK Navy, the ROK SEALs actually handle this VBSS. See if it's actually with aggression and whatnot, as you would expect out of them. Again, looks very similar to just what the U.S. Navy looks like, what they're wearing and whatnot. Okay, so what we can see here, I'm not actually familiar with this specific vessel, but you can see we have, machine gun stands, I guess you can call them. So you have the shields right there. You have a 50 cal, it looks like, in the front. So this vessel is basically made for assaulting. So that's definitely something you would want for VBSS. It doesn't necessarily need to be so aggressive, like transporting the VBSS team. However, you do want some sort of firepower in case, while you're approaching the vessel, you start taking fire or what have you. If you need to maneuver on another vessel that's coming at you, you at least have firepower if it comes to that. But yeah, we can see already they have some pretty solid gear. I can see they're rocking the Team Wendy helmets, which is actually what I have back here in the background. It's a very solid helmet, but yeah, their gear looks very solid. And again, just with the sailors, we can see a lot of similarities to what U.S. Navy would actually wear. Okay, so we can see they're working as a team of 3. Just pretty standard, I guess. Okay, so I know with the I'll move this back a bit. So I know with the recon Marines, because I've trained with them doing their sort of version of VBSS. You wouldn't normally have 2 boats this close to each other. Normally, like, let's say this boat would push out, to like maybe the front, or just push up on the side of the ship to provide cover, because they can provide a little bit of depth. And if they see anything that's the guys in the rear of the ship, can't see, they can actually communicate that over. So it's interesting to see how they're doing this. They might just be sending multiple teams, and they might have another ship that's doing the security. But it's interesting to see them sending 2 ships or 2 small boats right next to the ship at a time. So we can see they're going to start their boarding procedure, and yeah, should be interesting. Normally you'll see them use like a ladder or what have you. So I guess we'll see how these guys do it. Okay, that's a little bit different from what you would see. Pretty nice little tool there. Okay, I'll stop right there real quick. So we can see he's got a PEC 15, which is basically like a visible laser, also with an IR laser. And you can see they also have red dot sights with magnifiers, which is very good because if you need to fire at range, you have that magnifier. And if you're doing CQB, you can just use a red dot sight. And then we can also see they have a flashlight. And their weapons themselves look like HK 416, which is a very reliable, very solid rifle. And it's also got a short barrel, which is very well suited for CQB. And if I'm not mistaken, it looks like they're wearing Cry G3 combat tops, maybe combat bottoms as well. But yeah, that's also a very solid like combat uniform. So they're definitely not skimping on their equipment, which is very nice to see. Again, when you're talking about people who are important or who serve a very important role that other people can't necessarily fill, you're going to want some solid equipment that actually suits their needs. So very cool to see. Okay, we have one dude with his pistol out. That was interesting. Okay, so we'll move that back a bit so you can see. So I'll say in their defense, CQB on a ship is very stressful. It can be very annoying because there's not a whole lot of room, and it's definitely different from a house just because you have like nooks and crannies everywhere. Like you'll have a bunch of weird hallways. You'll have ladder wells coming like up and down. So you can see here, you know, they're pushing up. They found a ladder well. So they're trying to cover on these danger areas, but now they're giving up the long security. And then, you know, he was able to push him out. So yeah, it can get very, very sketchy with CQB on a ship. Okay, I'm a huge fan of Sig Sauer myself. That's just personal preference. But they have some nice holsters. You can see it looks like I'm not sure what kind of holster. It could be a Safariland, but I don't think it is. So they have some interesting holsters. They have some nice setups. You can see he has a pressure sensor on his foregrip. So if he needs to activate his laser or maybe even his flashlight, he can utilize that pressure switch to do that, which is very cool. But yeah, you can see they also have flexi cuffs. When you're talking about VBSS, if you have hostages or, you know, or like a threat that, you know, you can take hostage or what have you, it's also nice to have those flexi cuffs as an option if you need to detain someone. So that's awesome to see. We'll finish out this video.
해적으로부터 대한민국 국민의 생명과 재산을 보호하기 위해 완벽한 준비로 주어진 임무를 완수하겠습니다.
청해부대와 연합 해군의 노력으로 소말리아 해역에서의 해적 활동은
Somalia, I think.
여전히 위협은 지속되고 있습니다. 청해부대원들은 우리 국민들이 원하는 곳이라면 언제 어디에서도 부여된 임무를 완수할 수 있도록 최선의 노력을 다하겠습니다.
If y'all speak Korean, definitely feel free to help me out with the translation of what they're saying at the end. But yeah, these guys look very, very solid. I'm like a huge fan of like looking at other military's gear and what sort of equipment they're actually given. And I don't know who they actually asked for advice or if they just figured it out themselves, but their kit is very well suited for what they're doing. You know, the short-barreled rifles, they have the magnified optics, or they have that magnifier if they need to use it, you know, while they're actually getting engaged and they're not near the ship themselves, they can utilize that. they can, you know, flip it down when they're doing CQB, and just like their helmets are solid, their plate carrier is solid. They have a lot of good equipment as far as their mag pouches, their holsters are good. You know, pretty decent pistol. Not a huge fan of the SIG again, but yeah, their stuff seems very well tailored to what they're doing. So impressed to see these guys actually getting the right equipment for the job. But yeah, a lot of times you might see that, not necessarily as a limitation, because you can definitely do pretty well with what you're given, but if you're given the right gear, it definitely helps with the lethality, at least, or at least the comfort. But yeah, this is a cool video. I'd like to check out more units from the ROK military, maybe like the ROK Marine Corps or ROK Army. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about the video. If you haven't seen anything about the ROK SEALs before, I would definitely recommend checking them out, because they're pretty solid. And again, they base a lot of their stuff around the U.S. military, so you'll see a lot of those similarities. But this is very cool to check out. But if you guys like the video, definitely feel free to hit that thumbs up and comment. Let me know what you think. If you have any other recommendations for ROK units, definitely feel free to put those in the comment section. And if you're not subscribed, definitely feel free to subscribe. It's totally free. It really helps me out, and it allows us to build our community, and it allows me to tailor my videos towards you guys a little bit better if you're giving those recommendations. So I do appreciate it, but that is it for this video, so I will see y'all in the next one.